For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Jason and I'm your watch guy today, and I have another comparison video for you today. The last time I compared two Aliexpress watches to each other, well, it was this, and that's up to about 40,000 views now. So if this one does a fraction of that type of number, I will be really made up with it. Today I am comparing two watches that can really go head to head together, but I think these 5 categories that I have lined up for you really do tell them apart. Today I am comparing the Pagani design PD1707 with the Cadisen C8189. Now, as you can see, these two are very similar watches and they both pay homage to one of the most famous watches there is on the market, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the Chronograph variant, of course. Both packed with Seiko VK63 movements, and they both sit around the £60 mark. So, where's the differences? Well, I'm going to separate these into 5 different categories for you and show you where your money should be going. If you'd like to pick up either of these watches after this comparison, then I have both linked in the description. They are both affiliate links and I do get a kickback if you use them. I'm very grateful for that because it really helps run this channel. Now, speaking about helping to run this channel, let me talk to you about today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by watchshopping.com, an online store that was established in 2017. They have over 1,000 watches in stock and in hand available to you, and they are from 90 plus different brands, 4,000 plus Chrono24 and Trustpilot review shows how trustworthy watchshopping.com is. They are the one-stop shop for any watch that your heart may desire. If you'd like to take a closer look, they are linked in the description. Thank you to them for sponsoring today's video. So guys, with all of that out of the way, for the possible thousands of you watching at home, it's time for the main event. Here's our Royal Oak Rumble. It's only fitting that we start this Royal Oak Rumble with the Cadisen. This is the C8189G, and it was the first one to be released out of these two. Cadisen also released the first Royal Oak homage out of themselves and Pagani design also. It's packing a VK63 movement. It is around £60 on Aliexpress at the moment. The big difference in these two at first was the dimensions. So this one is 42mm wide. It is 12.1mm thick. It has a very long lug to lug because of these end links. Now, they are fixed to the case, and I'm pretty sure that you probably wouldn't be able to find another strap for these. They bring this lug to lug in at 54.7mm. So this one does fit to a smaller wrist just because of the angle of them, but it doesn't fit as comfortably as other watches may do. As we move to the Pagani, you will definitely notice straight away that it is a smaller case. It is a 40mm case on this one. In fact, I got it in a 40.3mm here to here. It is a VK63 movement as well. 11mm thick, this one really making the most of that mecha quartz movement in the back of there. And we have a 46.6mm lug to lug, including these little articulated pieces, these little male end links here. I don't know if you call these male or female, well, that's definitely male, is it? Yeah, male end links. It does bring it in a more suiting 46.6mm lug to lug, makes it much more wearable for smaller wrists. Now, if you haven't got a smaller wrist, it's still going to be more wearable due to that smaller lug to lug. It's what I like to call the Seiko effect. Side to side, you can definitely see the size difference in these two. Now, personally, I quite like the design of each of them. I feel like the Cadisen has gone a bit more on its own tracks, while the Pagani is stuck to a homage out and out. Now, I have 5 categories that I feel like separate these watches enough for you to make a clear distinction which one you would like. And we are going to start off with the build and the build quality. So as we look at this Pagani design and we note its build and its dimensions, you'll note it is a slimmer case, much more sporty in design. It is also built in 316L stainless steel. We have a slightly different style crown, which we'll come on to later on. We have screw down pushers over here, which is nice to see. That's a little piece of quality. And the lug to lug makes it much more wearable than the Cadisen itself. As we move to the Cadisen, one of the biggest downsides that I will tell you about this piece is that it is not actually built in 316L stainless steel. Now that is a pretty much industry-wide agreed upon material for a stainless steel watch. However, this one is built in 304, which is a cheaper alternative to the 316L. I believe the longevity of that is less. I believe the quality is less also. Lug to lug is massive on it. It's just too long for it to be a real practical everyday wear watch. However, to give it to Cadisen, they have gone with a more original style, a much more curved casing to this one. They have included crown guards, and the crown itself is much more inside this hexagonal type of design. Another thing that they've gone for is that they've actually got a decahedron around the outer edge of their bezel. Well, a decahedron shape to their bezel with the more angles to it, whereas the Pagani has gone for the octagon, which is much more synonymous to the Royal Oak itself. Given these distinctions between the two, I think for the build, the point really does have to go to Pagani. I just think that really the 316L stainless steel and the thinner proportions to this one tip it the way of the Pagani, and I think that they've really got that type of design right for this piece, for this homage. I feel like Cadisen, yes, have done something a little bit different, but I don't think they've gone different in the correct manner, unfortunately. So as you may guess at this point, first category, Pagani takes the point and they are one up. The next category, however, may be a little bit different. This is the finishing of each watch. Now, both watches have a very nice brushed effect to it with polished accents around the entirety of the piece. Let's look at this Cadisen first. You can see that there is a polished edge to the casing itself. We have polished edges around the bezel, and it is very well accented throughout the watch. Now, very simple throughout the rest of the watch. It just does what it's meant to, straight brushing throughout the bracelet itself. Very flat form to that bracelet. No real sharp edges throughout. And the bezel has a very nice straight brushed lineal design to it, which again is very aesthetically pleasing for this piece. So as we move on to the Pagani, I feel like the Pagani got a lot of things right, and they really did tee themselves up for a massive win in this category. We have lovely chamfered edges around the casing with a polished accent, which goes very nicely against that horizontal brushed effect, that very deep horizontal brushing. The outer edge of the bezel is also polished, but the lower end, the side of it, is actually brushed, which again gives a real nice feature to this. We look through the edge of this bracelet, and the bracelet is angled on the edges. Again, a really nice feature to it. And I think that Pagani had this entire category sewn up, just blew the Cadisen out of the water until I got to the bezel. Now this will be a quality control issue, as sometimes we know Pagani design, they have them. Quite famous for them, in fact. Have a look at the Pagani design brushing on the bezel, then have a look at the Cadisen. That's right, the Pagani design brushing is askew. It goes very far off to the left. It is not straight at all, and I just couldn't in any manner give this category to the Pagani with that It's just completely thrown the finishing out of the window, which is a shame because everything else was spot on. And I think they really nailed this watch until that bezel, and it really did let them down quite a bit. So coming in from behind, the Cadisen ties this up at 1-1. It's getting tight, isn't it, guys? It's getting very, very tight. With 3 categories to go, it's all to play for. We move now to the pushers and the crown, and I've made this a category because these 2 watches distinguish themselves in the pushers and the crown design. Now again, we'll start with Pagani. The screw down pushers really do give them an early lead in this conversation, as the Cadisen does not have them. One thing that was really impressive in Pagani's Daytona homage for me was the screw down pushers. That's one thing that I always thought, that's a little bit of quality, as I've never seen it at this price range before. £60 and you're getting screw down pushers and a screw down crown. This is a screw down crown also. As I say, same movement also. These both have a VK63 movement in them, a Seiko VK63. Really did tee themselves up for a win again, just like the last category. The crown, however, is a little bit weird. Now, I do like that they have this octagon shape in the center of it, but the grip levels to the outer edge, that good grip to it, I'll give them that. I just feel like it's a little bit off for the design. It's a screw down crown, which again, bonus. However, I just feel like they should have gone more towards the Cadisen's roll, and I'll show you that in a second. They should have had a nut-like shape, just like the pushers do on the outer edge. I feel like that's really let that side down. However, really nice brushing and, well, not brushing, a really nice sandblasted effect to the crown itself with the Pagani design logo in polish. Now, we move to the Cadisen, and I was really torn in this category because I was thinking I can't really fault the Pagani design considering they have screw down pushers and the Cadisen doesn't. However, I feel like this crown really does nail it for Cadisen. So the pushers are simple push actuation, no screw down, but I feel like the crown on this one is much more to the design of the watch, and I also feel like the crown guards really add something. They add a little level of quality to this piece, really add to the angles of the watch itself, because it isn't as angular as the Pagani. I do feel like these really add something in. So this was probably the hardest category for me to call. However, I do have to give it to the Cadisen, which takes a 2-1 lead into the final 2 categories. I just feel like that crown and crown guards really did win the point here for the Cadisen. Simple pushers, however, a really nice crown does win it for the Cadisen here. I think that Pagani should have really gone in the same direction. Now, the last 2 categories kind of tie into each other. So firstly, we're going to look at the fit of these watches. Now, the Cadisen is the bigger watch. It has the bigger lug-to-lug, and it has this very strange end link situation going on here. Whereas the Pagani does have a much smaller height, a much smaller case, thinner in form, and I feel like the lug-to-lug really will help the Pagani. So let's try these 2 watches on and see if I still prefer the one that I think I will. So the Cadisen has a little bit of a looser fit. I have taken as many links as possible to keep it still wearable. However, it does have a looser fit on the bracelet. There are no smaller links to take out. For me, it's a nice wear, but it is much heavier than the Pagani. The lug-to-lug isn't so bad for a little amount of time, a smaller amount of time, like maybe a day wear. I wouldn't be able to wear this as a everyday piece just because of the size of it and the chunk behind that lug-to-lug and the casing as well. The bracelet I won't mention, as that is going to be our next category, as again that is a point where these watches do differ. As mentioned earlier, the lug-to-lug of the Pagani design is shorter. We have a thinner form on this one, much more sporty form. To be fair, As you can see, we have a butterfly clasp on this one, just like the Cadisen. So you may have guessed that I kind of prefer wearing the Pagani. I did in the first instance when these watches were released. I also think that the lug to lug and how thin the case is really do make this a very day-to-day wearable watch. I think that it just fits into my day-to-day life so easily. So it is the perfect type of grab and go quartz piece for me. I just feel like the Cadisen was a bit thick, a little bit too chunky to pull that type of everyday wear off. And as you will probably guess, I am giving this point to the Pagani, which ties it back up again at 2-2. We have one more category left, and it is the last distinguishing piece that I would like to bring to your attention. Now, I know that there are a lot more things to consider when buying a watch than these 5 key items that I've pointed out, but I thought that these would be the 5 areas where I can really pull apart each watch and decide which one I would prefer. Now, I'd like it if you could go into the comments and tell me what you think, which one you would prefer. I know everyone has their own opinion, and I know that mine doesn't suit the narrative every time. So it'd be nice to hear what you guys think. Personally, I think the last category will show my colours on this one. So let's get into that. We are going to talk about bracelets. Now, there's a lot of similarities in these bracelets. So they both give a very angular type of design. The Cadisen being a more flat piece that looks like brickwork throughout. Now, in the later models, they curved the underside of this one because the first iterations of the Cadisen Royal Oak homages were actually quite sharp underneath. We have a butterfly clasp just like on the Pagani. We have the Cadisen logo engraved into the clasp here, which is quite nice actually. The end links are really, they're not for me. It has this really weird look to it. I mean, you either needed to flow the design of this piece in to the last couple of pieces, or I don't know. I think it just needed the indentations really there for me to make it look less like a separate piece and more like just a bracelet itself. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't go to everyone's liking. Now, moving back to the Pagani got this one right. So little prelude there to how this one's gonna go. But H-link bracelet, it has really nice angular edges to the bracelet itself. Brushing is quite deep. These links are all individual, which gives you a really nice fit on wrist, and that's what aids this watch so much. We also have angular ends. Pagani design logo in the center of the butterfly clasp. So while it being quite similar to the Cadisen design, I just think that this Pagani design bracelet takes the win here. I think that they just nailed it. And with the lug to lug being so much shorter and not having this weird, ugly end link on there, they take away the crown for the better Royal Oak homage for me. I think that the Pagani is the one to take your money. Personally, £60 for either of these, I think that's a good buy. But if I had to pick one, I would go with the Pagani again. They are also available in 3 different colour options. Both of these, in fact, are available in 3 different colour options. You can pick them up in a blue, white or black dial. I believe the black dial is a reverse panda. The Pagani design is the last watch standing in our Royal Oak Rumble, and it gets my vote every time. Just because of the little things that I mentioned. The bracelet, the sizing, really one thing that does take you home is the thinness of this case, and those polished chamfered edges are absolutely beautiful. Really, it would have been 4-1 if it wasn't for this angled finish on the brushing of the upper bezel. I feel like that was a real letdown for Pagani design, and I do hope that they fix that in the latest releases of them, in the latest builds. I believe they probably would have addressed that issue by now, so you will probably be picking up a better one than myself. Let me know in the comments if I got this one right, if you think that the Pagani was the one to take home, or if you completely disagree with me and my opinion is absolute dog, you know. Yeah, let me know. It's always nice to have a little discussion in the comments after something like this. Could I have changed my bloody top halfway through? How did I do that? I may have filmed this over 2 days. Yeah, I'm really pressed for time lately. And as you can see, I'm a little bit tired. But I hope you enjoyed this comparison, guys. I know at the end of the day, you're going to pick the watch that you think looks the best, or you think will fit your aesthetic, your desires in a timepiece the most. So I get that. I get that. That's what I do. But I hope you've enjoyed my insight to what I think would make the Pagani the winner here and the Cadisen the runner-up. I do really like the Cadisen, and I did when it came out. I really enjoyed wearing it. But then the Pagani came out and I thought, yeah, they've just kind of one-upped Cadisen here. If you're interested in picking up either of these watches, I do have links in the description. They are affiliate links. Remember, they do give me a little bit of a kickback. I do appreciate that, but it doesn't change any opinions, etc, etc. You know how this all works by now, I'm sure. As well as that, if you are interested in any of the watches that you see on my channel, you may be able to purchase them through my store, which is also linked in the description, thewatchguystore.com. I list things that I'm moving through, any of the watches that have been sent to me that I don't plan on keeping, or any of my own personal collection that I'm moving on. I've also been picking up a couple of dead watches to bring back to life and sell through there too, which has been really fun. I've been trying to document that on my other channel, but yeah, time constraints and stuff. You know how it is. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this, more comparison videos, because I don't really do them very often. And weirdly enough, these are probably my best viewed videos. So if you like these, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.